Disgusting. The content of the letter really disgusted everyone. After reading that letter, everyone's expressions were very strange. Isn't this just playing both sides? It's clearly just openly robbing, but under the guise of humanitarian co-defense. Lou Karen, being young, didn't quite understand these matters and felt exceptionally angry. These disgusting guys, better they just rob us directly than use these tricks to disgust us. Everyone exchanged smiles and shook their heads helplessly. Naturally, this was something Lou Karen, naive as she was, could not understand. Joe Kerr explained to her, these are just formalities. According to them, co-defense would certainly involve troops being stationed, right? That means providing them with the necessities of life. Lou Karen rolled her eyes and said, then when the time comes, we just don't provide it, right? In the end, they will have to resort to open robbery. Joe Kerr smiled. By that time, we will inevitably be in a more passive situation. They will surely bite back, accusing us of being unrighteous, and then they can justifiably move against us, claiming self-defense. Lou Karen was nearly exploding with anger after hearing this. They are clearly the robbers, yet they pretend to be the good guys. How absurd. Zhang Yi put away the letter and said, all in all, it's just an excuse to give the River South domain a way out, so as not to appear too awkward when the superpower union has just been established. When it was established, it was a slap in their face. Simply put, it's demanding an unconditional surrender from Zhang Yi and his group. Liang Yu looked sharply at Zhang Yi. Let's fight them. Uncle Yu and Chun Lei also expressed their indignation. Teach them a harsh lesson. These shameless guys really think we're easy to bully. Zhang Yi nodded. We definitely need to fight, but the question is how. The three major forces of Days City are not inferior to the previous three major forces of Heavenly Sea City. If they unite, it would be difficult for us to gain the upper hand. It might be better for us to pretend to agree, letting them let down their guard. Yang Xinxin pondered. First, pretend to agree to their demands, then catch them off guard and attack unexpectedly. Zhang Yi approved. Exactly. We need to achieve this victory with the least cost and eradicate them completely. Then, Zhang Yi thought for a moment and said, now that we are all on the same front, it might be better to call Xiao Honglian and the others over as well. After all, we'll need their assistance with this matter. Soon, the three drove to Zhang Yi's shelter. Looking at Zhang Yi's splendid shelter, they were filled with envy. It's truly maddening how some people live. Zhang Yi hosted them in the living room and then had Zhou Kerr serve them hot tea. Xiao Honglian eagerly asked, has there been any movement from those guys in Days City? Upon hearing this, Chen Jingwan and Xing Tian suddenly realized. After calling Xiao Honglian and the others to the shelter, Zhang Yi briefly recounted the contents of the letter to them. After listening, Chen Jingwan's mouth twitched as he said, boss, you're not going to ignore us, are you? Even Xiao Honglian changed her usually strong tone, her face blushing slightly, and somewhat shyly said, boss, you need to help us make a decision here. Zhang Yi looked at Xiao Honglian with some surprise, thinking to himself, this woman is really straightforward. She changes her tune quickly when it's crucial. He leisurely sipped his hot tea and said, I've already planned this matter. You just need to strictly follow my instructions. Now, the three major forces were essentially devoid of much fighting strength. The key was to see how Zhang Yi himself would act. Zhang Yi told them, my plan is to pretend to compromise. The main purpose is to lure them to Heavenly Sea City. Then you'll just need to cooperate with me. Zhang Yi did not reveal too much of the detailed plan, as he could not fully guarantee the absolute loyalty of these three. Soon after, Zhang Yi composed a reply email and sent it. The email was very official, roughly meaning, if you come to fight me, I'll go complain to the River South domain. But if you don't fight me, I can give you some resources, and we can be good neighbors in the future. Sun Jianming nearly laughed until tears came out, saying, he's clearly terrified but still trying to save face. Does he really think bringing up the River South domain will scare us? At this moment, his disdain for Zhang Yi intensified. Gu Hongdai also couldn't stop laughing, saying, this little brother is quite cute. After we take down Heavenly Sea City, I'll let him be my subordinate and tell me jokes. At that time, Chen Liangyu slowly said, I think we should talk to him some more. Also, is there a possibility that they are just putting on a show for us? Chen Liangyu is a very cautious person. He wouldn't judge Zhang Yi's incompetence from just one email. After all, how could such material ever dominate Heavenly Sea City? Sun Jianming scoffed. Chen Liangyu, aren't you being too cautious? Whether it's real or fake, it's well known that Heavenly Sea City is weak now. With our current strength, sweeping them is as easy as flipping a hand. Gu Hongdai also said, I also think we shouldn't fight if we don't have to. They seem quite scared now, and if we keep scaring them, they might just give in. As long as they obediently hand over the resources, there's no need to pay the price in blood. After all, even a cornered rabbit will bite, so sparing him a little life is not a bad idea. As long as people have hope to live, they won't fight to the death. Sun Jianming said somewhat disinterestedly, since you all say so, let's talk to them again. But we need to make them understand our patience is limited. We don't have the time to dawdle here. While the three in Days City were discussing, top hacker Yang Xinxin had already breached their organization's firewall and begun gathering all their data. This was not a difficult task for Yang Xinxin. After the data transfer was complete, Zhang Yi eagerly began reviewing the intelligence. The first file he checked was naturally Sun Jianming's. After reading it, Zhang Yi couldn't help but furrow his brow, thinking to himself, no wonder Chen Jingwan was easily defeated by him. The leaders of the three forces were all Delta-level mutants, and their abilities were quite perverse. Sun Jianming's ability is called Dark Force, which has the effects of armor penetration and body penetration. Once in close combat, he can ignore all armor and directly cause damage to the human body. Zhang Yi thought to himself, no wonder Chen Jingguan was easily defeated. He ignored the defenses of a rubber man, striking directly at the organs. Actually, Chen Jingguan's ability was not weak, it was just completely countered by Sun Jianming. Next was Gu Hongdia's file. She is a psychic power user with the ability code Crimson Kiss. She can bewitch people's minds, making them completely become her puppets, with a loyalty and affection that come from the heart. This powerful control is comparable to a weakened version of Yuan Kongya. Zhang Yi felt a pang of awe. No wonder her team is the largest. Fortunately, the intelligence also recorded her weakness. Her power is only effective within 100 meters. The closer the distance, the stronger the effect. If there is direct kissing, even a Delta-level mutant would be completely subdued. After finishing, Zhang Yi couldn't help but take a deep breath, jokingly saying, "This Gu Hongdai seems to be a professional." Ha! Beside him, Yang Xinxin blushed, puzzled, and asked, "What's a professional?" Zhang Yi coughed awkwardly, waving his hand and saying, "It's nothing. Kids shouldn't inquire about such things. Let's move on to the next." Chen Lianyu's ability code is Jaguar, possessing near-sonic running speeds and fierce hunting capabilities. Overall, the abilities of the three major forces were strong, but still not on par with the peak era of the five major forces of Heavenly Sea City. Moreover, in terms of weapons and equipment, they were severely lacking. All combined, they probably couldn't even match the former West Mountain base. Thus, with such a long-distance rush, they definitely couldn't bring many heavy thermal weapons. In this case, the defensive pressure on Heavenly Sea City would be much reduced. Just at this moment, a notification came through Zhang Yi's email. Days City had sent another message, essentially as follows: "Please, Heavenly Sea City, consider the bigger picture and do not refuse their request for co-defense. If you persistently refuse, they will take strong measures, and all consequences will be borne by Heavenly Sea City." They also reminded that they are already on their way and will soon be at the gates of Heavenly Sea City. After reading the email, Zhang Yi smirked playfully, thinking, "It looks like the act must go on. We can't just raise our hands and surrender. That might make Days City suspicious. Showing a bit of weakness might better conceal our real cards." With that thought, Zhang Yi leisurely composed a reply. "You are welcome to come and assist in defense. Currently, our defenses in Heavenly Sea City are indeed a bit weak, and we can allocate a part of the area to you, but you must not touch our current base." After reading Zhang Yi's email, the three major forces laughed again. Even agreeing to cede territory proves the weakness and lack of strength of Heavenly Sea City. The three forces began to scheme. "It seems we really might be able to take down Heavenly Sea City slowly without expending a single soldier. Cede a city today, a territory tomorrow, slowly devouring the entire Heavenly Sea City. But there's also no need to completely eradicate them. Just leave them a barren land to avoid starvation." The three forces quickly reached a consensus and immediately organized their troops to set out. They did not reply to Zhang Yi's email anymore to avoid giving him the chance to ambush them. But little did they know, all their conversations were being clearly monitored by Yang Xinxin. On Zhang Yi's side, Uncle Yu was already furiously exploding. Meanwhile, Zhang Yi slowly stood up from the sofa, his gaze icy, and sent a message directly to the three bases: "Prepare for action." After the three forces reached their consensus, they immediately organized a large army and headed for Heavenly Sea City. A few hours later, the mutant alliance from Days City gradually entered the territory of Heavenly Sea City. Over 80% of Days City's combat power had been mobilized here. In this battle, they planned to settle the situation and seize the resource-rich Heavenly Sea City. They had even disregarded the risk of losing their rear, planning to shift their focus here after taking Heavenly Sea City. After all, this region was much more vast and affluent than Days City. The convoy of the three forces slowly advanced, and some were already discussing how to divide the spoils of Heavenly Sea City. Sun Jianming stated, "We'll take the port at Morning Dew Base. Their fleet will also be useful to us." Gu Hongdai pointed leisurely at the Radiant Prosperity Base and said, "The refinery here is mine." Chen Lianyu pointed at Xing Tian's Emerald Waterside Base and said, "I'll take this steel mill." At this, Sun Jianming curiously asked, "Where exactly is Zhang Yi's territory?" Everyone was quite curious, but it seemed not to matter. After all, they would occupy all territories in time. At this moment, Gu Hongdai looked through the car window towards the iconic building outside, the 3-7 Tower, just a few hundred meters ahead. However, they were unaware that Zhang Yi had long been waiting there. When the convoy was only 500 meters from the 3-7 Tower, Zhang Yi slowly opened his right hand, and a very dark spark abruptly appeared in his palm, jumping like black lightning, coalescing the void. As Zhang Yi waved his hand, a nearly 2 to 3 meter long spear of void instantly formed. He, coordinating with his precise shooting ability, hurled the spear of void directly at the leading armored vehicle. In an instant, a huge dark sphere appeared on the ground, enveloping the Days City convoy. Immediately afterward, a loud explosion erupted, and the vehicles in the rear frantically braked. A huge pit suddenly appeared in front of them, and the vehicles that had been driving ahead seemed to have been swallowed by the pit in a blink of an eye. Fear was evident in everyone's eyes as they scrambled to flee back the way they came. Zhang Yi stood atop the 3-7 tower and coldly ordered, "Cast the net, leave no one alive." Qin Jingguan responded loudly, commanding, "Kill them, follow the leader's orders, kill without mercy." At once, the mutants and soldiers of Heavenly Sea City's 3 major forces surged towards the remnants of the Days City Alliance like a tidal wave, initiating a frenzied pursuit. Zhang Yi's move was tremendously powerful, but the energy consumption was also extremely great. His face turned somewhat pale, and he had to immediately consume a large amount of ability-enhancing food to replenish his energy. Next, he moved through 2 doors and arrived at the area swallowed by the void. This place resembled a collapsed giant well, and in a depression lay a gruesomely mangled body. Although the person was covered in blood, Zhang Yi could tell he was not yet dead. Clearly, someone who could survive his killing move was a powerful enhanced ability user. As Zhang Yi approached, he pulled out Holy Judgment from his storage space and said coldly, "Sun Jianming, don't play dead. You can't fool me." At this moment, Sun Jianming was filled with fear. His bones were almost completely shattered, and his internal organs severely damaged. He was completely immobile. He could never understand why Zhang Yi, so powerful, had pretended to be weak. If he had known Zhang Yi was this strong, they would never have dared to provoke him. With his last breath, Sun Jianming roared, "Why?" Zhang Yi calmly replied, "There's not so much why, you're just too weak." Saying this, he activated Dimensional Gate, and with one strike of Holy Judgment, he ended Sun Jianming. The disparity in strength between high-level and lower-level mutants is entirely crushing. Even though both were Delta level, his suppression of others was still cliff-like. Zhang Yi extended his hand, absorbed Sun Jianming's core energy, then pulled out a stool and sat down to rest. The cleanup of the battlefield was left to others. He needed to properly recover his strength and energy. Meanwhile, in another direction, a figure was desperately running through the snow, kicking up a huge wave of snow. As an orc-type ability user, Chen Liangyu had extremely sharp instincts. As Zhang Yi was condensing the void, he had already sensed the threat of death. In just 1 second, he managed to escape from the coverage of the void spear. Looking back at the vast expanse of darkness, Chen Liangyu's whole body shivered with horror, wondering, what level of mutant is this? Perhaps not even the captain of the Blizzard City investigation team is this powerful. What kind of monster have we provoked? At this moment, he dared not ponder further and could only desperately flee back, or he would surely die. However, on his way forward, a huge wall of fire blocked his path. Xiao Honglian, holding a large wine jug, and Zhuge Qingting had already been waiting there. About half an hour had passed, and Zhang Yi's condition had largely recovered. At this time, Xiao Honglian, standing tall and proud, walked up to Zhang Yi, holding Chen Liangyu's head in her hand. At this moment, Xiao Honglian was completely submissive to Zhang Yi from the bottom of her heart. Previously, she might have had some reluctance, but after tonight, that feeling had completely vanished. Everyone had witnessed Zhang Yi's absolute power. It was a presence they could not reach. Zhang Yi turned to Liang Yu and instructed, "You go and count the numbers, see if they match what Yang Xinxin mentioned." Liang Yu couldn't help but say, "That might be a bit difficult, considering most of them were blown to bits by you." Zhang Yi reminded everyone, everything that happened tonight must not be disclosed to the outside world, including to Blizzard City. He knew that his power would eventually be exposed, but the later that day came, the better. Qin Jingguan was the first to stand up, straightening his back and saying, "Whatever the boss requests, we at Morning Dew Base will strictly comply, without fail." Xing Tian quickly agreed. "The same goes for our Emerald Waterside base." However, he then asked with some confusion, "What should we say if River South Domain asks about it?" Zhang Yi smiled slightly and said, "Just say that all forces in Heavenly Sea City united to eliminate the enemy. We are the victims, and self-defense is not a problem. Let them guess the details. Anyway, River South Domain's attention is currently on Coastal City. They should be too busy to worry about what happened here." Lastly, Zhang Yi had Chun Lei use his abilities to fill in the deep pit. Soon, the scene was restored as if nothing had ever happened. Meanwhile, River South Domain was forming 10 teams of mutants, ready to take down the Eclipsed Moon Group invading Coastal City. At this time, in a shopping mall building in Coastal City, 13 members of Eclipsed Moon were gathered in a warehouse enjoying food. At this point, Shinguji, wearing glasses, spoke up. "We've killed so many people here. River South Domain will definitely send someone to hunt us down, right? What do you think? I feel like if we don't run, our situation will be very dangerous." Hearing this, the leader Huan laughed and said, "Let them come. If we don't show them the strength of our Eclipsed Moon Group, how will they ever cooperate with us willingly?" Shinguji put down the can he was holding and said worriedly, "You're being too risky. Even though we have Takeuchi, walking a tightrope feels really bad." Huan stood up, looked towards Takeuchi with a relaxed tone, and said, "The situation is very favorable for us now. River South Domain can't possibly use all their forces against us, especially since they haven't resolved their internal troubles yet. Just give them a little shock with fluorescent. Let them know we're not to be trifled with, and we'll get a chance to negotiate." Shinguji pushed his glasses up and said to Takeuchi, "Start today's divination." However, Takeuchi ignored his request. Huan walked up with a smile, patted Takeuchi on the head, and said softly, "Mayumi Mayumi, start now. Hearing this, Takeuchi finally put down the kin she was holding and slowly took off the gloves she had been wearing. Then, she reached her right hand to her temple. The next moment, she actually pulled a scroll out of her own head. This scene made everyone present brighten up. Even the short-haired man cooking was filled with joy, excitedly saying, "Here it comes. I love watching Mayumi's divinations." Takeuchi unrolled the scroll on the ground, then took out a bottle of red liquid and a brush from her bosom, bent down with a serious expression, and began writing on the scroll. After finishing, Huan picked up the scroll and carefully examined its contents. His eyes grew brighter. Their people are coming, and there are a lot of them. Then, he began assigning tasks. Longza, Genwo Kitsu, you two head southeast. Daiko Kai, you go east. Today your fortune lies there. Huan assigned tasks to his subordinates based on the divination in Takeuchi's scroll. Soon, the warehouse was much emptier. He took a sip of soup, showing a look of enjoyment, and said, "This tastes really good. Now we can have another feast." It was unclear whether he was talking about the food or the upcoming battle. Meanwhile, in the southwest of Coastal City, Hang City's mutant leader Peng Jialuo led a group, moving closer to the direction of the Eclipsed Moon Group. Facing this organization from Fluorescent, they dared not take it lightly. After all, this was the organization that had wiped out a city. Just then, a figure suddenly appeared not far away. Peng Jialuo was surprised and immediately ordered everyone to be ready for battle. At that moment, the man took a coin out of his right hand, and with a light flick, the coin turned into a rail gunshot, fiercely shooting towards the people of Hang City. Before they could react, one of the mutants was pierced through the chest and died instantly. This scene made Peng Jialuo lose his temper despite his usual calm. Glaring at the opponent, he gritted his teeth and said, "Killing my men right in front of me, you're seeking death." He roared, "Damn fluorescent dogs, I will tear you to pieces." As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly transformed into a 4 to 5 meter tall golden Buddha, his indestructible body revealed. "There's only one of them, and we have over 40. The advantage is ours." Peng Jialuo sneered, ready to make his move. However, at that moment, a melodious piece of music suddenly came from afar, and the scenery in front of everyone bizarrely twisted. Peng Jialuo shouted, "It's a psychic ability user. Everyone, cover your ears." But it was too late. As the music started, Longza Gui once again pulled out 8 coins. The next second, 8 rail gunshots fiercely struck towards Peng Jialuo, and in a flash, the situation spiraled out of control. Meanwhile, in the west of Coastal City, the leader of the Cloud State City mutants, Lai Tianlong, had just arrived at a residence to rest when he suddenly received news that the Hang City mutants had been attacked. The team was originally prepared to go and provide support, but after a moment of thought, Lai Tianlong sneered, "The 10 forces are actually in competition. Letting Peng Jialuo wear down some of Eclipsed Moon's strength isn't a bad thing." Just then, a sudden whooshing sound came from outside the house. Before Lai Tianlong could react, a figure dropped from the sky into the house. Immediately afterward, a blood-red blade light fiercely flashed through the air. The next second, everyone inside was sliced apart. Lai Tianlong was stunned. How is this possible? But what shocked him wasn't the samurai's strength, but how the enemy could so precisely track their movements. "We have the support of the region's satellites. Our intelligence is definitely ahead of the enemy." Just waiting for a signal from the region, mutants from all directions would sprint collectively towards the target. Yet, it seems every move we make is anticipated by the enemy, putting us in a passive situation. Seeing this, Tu Yunlai from the regional headquarters almost went mad. His long-planned encirclement battle was now preempted by the enemy. Could there be a traitor? He murmured, but immediately dismissed this possibility. The security level at the command center is absolutely impenetrable. It's impossible for unauthorized messages to be sent from here. Could someone in the Eclipsed Moon Group have a scouting ability? But how could the range be so large? Meanwhile, on the eastern side of Coastal City, the leader of the Boss City mutants, Li Guoqiang, also encountered an opponent. The man was dressed in a suit, carrying a large violin case. Li Guoqiang furrowed his brows, pondering internally, "Just one person? We have over 40 people. Isn't he here to die? Where does his confidence come from? Are these fluorescent people out of their minds?" Li Guoqiang didn't waste words and directly ordered his men to shoot at the opponent. However, the bullets fired by a dozen shooters didn't hurt him at all. These are River South Domain's specially approved high-energy bullets. The man did not dodge at all, but simply crouched down and opened the cello case. Meng Shuqing whispered, "So it's an enhanced mutant." Li Guoqiang, however, gave a light smile and said, "Isn't that perfect? We're enhanced types too." Meng Shuqing instantly activated his ability Hair Like Snow, while Li Guoqiang pulled out 2 iron crutches from behind, shouting, "Iron Crutchly." In contrast, Daiko Kai calmly took out a strangely shaped long spear. This spear, when assembled, was nearly 3 meters long, its blade thin as cicada wings. Li Guoqiang commanded, "Everyone, attack! Take down this bastard." Just then, Daiko Kai roared, and his body suddenly transformed into a nearly 3-meter-tall mythical beast. Li Guoqiang was shocked and exclaimed, "It's a mythical beast, Tide Tiger." Daiko Kai slowly swung his long spear, and a teal blade light slashed through the air. The next second, 2 powerful Delta-level enhanced mutants were split in half alive. The leaders of the 2 forces were so casually killed, leaving their subordinates dumbfounded, and they immediately scrambled to flee. Daiko Daiko Kai mockingly watched them and said, "You've come all this way, why not exchange a few moves?" The next second, it was a one-sided slaughter. This scene was clearly viewed by Tu Yunlai at the command center. He said incredulously, "This level of power, it might even surpass the elite members of the investigation team, possibly even the deputy team leader." Tu Yunlai couldn't help but remark, "No wonder these guys can dominate in the Kanto region of country Fluorescent, making the Azuma organization there helpless against them." And soon, Daiko Kai ended the fight, leaving only bodies and a sense of despair on the battlefield. Over 50 people were taken down by Daiko Kai, all elite forces from the outer city, nearly half of them mutants. Daiko Kai, with a satisfied expression, absorbed their core energy, musing, "Door-to-door service makes such a delightful buffet. I do wish they'd send more over." Meanwhile, at the River South Domain's command center, after watching the overwhelming slaughter by Tide Tiger, Tu Yunlia's gaze grew even more solemn. He ordered the video feed to switch to Peng Jialuo's battle footage. Peng Jialuo is fighting 2 against 1. His indestructible body's defense is extremely high. Electromagnetic cannons basically can't cause him substantial harm. However, the melody attack from hiding greatly disturbed his mind. Peng Jialuo pondered for a moment and secretly decided, "It seems I must deal with that melody attacker first." He quickly approached the direction from which the sound was coming. Nanako, sensing the threat, immediately played her ability Sickle Weasel. Instantly, it seemed as if something invisible was swirling in the air. Peng Jialuo was greatly alarmed. This illusionary sound attack can actually penetrate defenses and directly attack the organs. He realized that trying to take out the melody attacker hiding in the shadows was now unrealistic. At this moment, his only choice was to fight a desperate battle, to fight with all his might, and if he was to die, to take someone with him. Peng Jialuo's indestructible body was both offensive and defensive. He charged straight at Long Zagui, throwing a fierce punch at Long Zagui's head. Long Zagui could only instinctively cross his arms to block. Boom! After a loud noise, Long Zagui was directly blown away hundreds of meters. However, at this time, Nanako's playing became more urgent, and the power formed by the melody continuously eroded Peng Jialuo's body. Even though his defense was comparable to that of a tank, his organs were still vulnerable. In a moment, Peng Jialuo felt his organs rapidly expanding. The next second, with a bang, Peng Jialuo's body instantly exploded, turning into a mist of blood, completely dissipating on the battlefield. In an instant, Peng Jialuo's body turned into a pile of mush. After the dust settled, Long Zagui was still in shock, thinking to himself, "If Nanako hadn't acted in time, I might have been in great danger." His arms were visibly twisted, clearly heavily injured. At this time, Nanako stepped out from the shadows, with a mischievous smile, saying, "It looks like I was the main force this time. So, this person's core energy belongs to me, right?" Long Zagui seemed somewhat dissatisfied, coldly saying, "If it were one-on-one, I might not have lost. It's just that I used up quite a bit of my ability when I was killing those small fry earlier." Nanako's smile brightened. "Come on, his ability clearly countered yours, while I just happened to counter him. So, there's no doubt that I led this operation." Long Zagui's face turned sour, but he was powerless to retort and remained silent. Meanwhile, inside Blizzard City's combat center, Tu Yunlai watched as each battle screen turned into a snow-filled signal, his expression grave. He had already realized that this encirclement was likely to end in complete failure. The staff quickly collected and organized the battle footage from various forces into intelligence, handing it to Tu Yunlai. "Minister, all 10 mutant squads have been wiped out. However, we did manage to obtain some valuable combat intelligence, which has now been compiled." Tu Yunlai took the USB drive, his face expressionless, and coldly said, "You continue monitoring, I'll go report to General Zhu." As the 10 outer city forces of the River South Domain were completely wiped out, the members of the Eclipsed Moon Group gradually returned to their occupied commercial building. Nanako started bragging proudly about how she had explosively killed the monk, while Long Zagui, looking unsatisfied, muttered quietly, "Clearly I did the most work." Just then, a dragging sound suddenly came from outside the door, and everyone alertly looked towards the entrance. Following the sound, it turned out that Kamamoto had brought back a captive. Shinguji, somewhat surprised, said, "You're the one thinking ahead, kid." Kamamoto looked at the others proudly and said, "You short-sighted fools, we're facing a huge force. How can we not try to gather as much intelligence as possible? This guy is a leader, he must know a lot." Although the leader of Cloud State City, Lai Tianlong, couldn't understand what they were saying, he guessed the gist of it. He yelled angrily, "Damn fluorescent bastard, if you're going to kill me, do it quickly. I won't say a word." At this moment, the high school student Shirjugo walked over and said softly, "The combat suit has a built-in translation system." Kamamoto snorted disdainfully, "I'd never wear that thing. It would only slow down my swordplay." Shirjugo mockingly walked up to Lai Tianlong and said, "Don't worry, you'll tell me." Saying this, Shirjugo placed his hands on either side of Lai Tianlong's head, and immediately a beam of light shot from his chest directly into Lai Tianlong's skull. Enlightened Heart Ghost. Moments later, Lai Tianlong collapsed to the ground like a sack of mud, unconscious. Shirjugo pushed up his glasses and said calmly, "Done, boss. I've gathered their intelligence. This time, our trouble isn't small." small. His smile slowly turned sinister, seemingly with a hint of anticipation. Now the entire river south domain is trying to encircle us. Who would have thought that we'd stir up such a commotion even after escaping here? Shinguji, however, held his forehead and worriedly said, what's there to be happy about? If we really provoke them, even with Mayumi here, it might be hard for us to get out unscathed. Jugo cheekily said, don't worry, Uncle Shinguji. I just found out that the river south domain has 6 top-level combat investigation teams, but only 2 are left at the headquarters. Moreover, one of them just lost a team leader. So, now is our best chance. At this moment, Hoenn revealed a wicked smile and said, Jugo, come and tell everyone about the memories you've peeked into. Jugo, a psychic ability user with the codename Enlightened Heart Ghost, who can peek into others' memories, nodded and began to explain. The river south domain still has 13 cities, with the headquarters at the central Blizzard City. The forces that came to encircle us were from the 12 outer cities. They are not much of a threat. The real threat is the official troops from Blizzard City. Hoenn immediately caught on and sneered. Blizzard City is cunning enough. They certainly don't want to lose their elites, so they induced the outer city forces to test us. Shinguji also analyzed. So, does that mean we still have room to negotiate? Hoenn confidently spread his arms, laughing. It might not have been possible before, but now that they've seen our strength, they'll have to negotiate with us if they want to avoid further losses. They definitely won't easily agree to our demands. After all, their real inner city elites haven't made a move yet. These outer city forces were just fodder for gathering intelligence. The next ones to come after us will likely be their 6 major investigation teams. It's bound to be a tough fight. Hoenn, however, appeared unconcerned, casually saying, isn't this the inevitable process? If we want to establish ourselves on this land and complete the first step of landing, then we must go through a fierce battle. He even made a proud analogy. Didn't Columbus, who discovered the New World, also die in combat with the natives? Yet his discovery changed the global landscape. As pioneers, we will surely be recorded in history books. Moreover, we have Mayumi with us. Luck will always be on our side. At that moment, Jugo suddenly pointed at the unconscious Lai Tianlong, coldly saying, is this guy still of any use? If not, I'll just eat him. Hoenn waved his hand to stop him. Hold on, this guy is still useful for now. We can send him back with a message, telling the river south domain that we are pacifists who dislike fighting. If we can negotiate peacefully, that would be best. When Tu Yunlai personally delivered the damage report, Zhu Zheng's eyes trembled unusually. He violently slammed the document in his hand on the table, roaring, this is impossible. Even if Eclipsed Moon is strong, they couldn't possibly wipe out our 10 mutant squads so easily. Not even our investigation teams could do that. In less than an hour, the 13 members of the Eclipsed Moon group, who didn't even all deploy, cleanly wiped out our 10 mutant squads. You must understand, every leader of those squads was a Delta-level powerhouse. How is this possible? Tu Yunlai spoke gravely. Logically, this outcome is indeed impossible. Therefore, I suspect the enemy has our intelligence. Zhu Jing stared at Tu Yunlai, coldly saying, speak plainly. Don't beat around the bush with me. Tu Yunlai paused for a moment, then slowly said, I think there are 2 possibilities. Either there's a traitor among our upper echelons who leaked the data and locations of our 10 mutant squads, or the enemy has a powerful surveillance ability that precisely controlled our movements and personnel deployment. Moreover, based on the analysis of the return battle footage, the Eclipsed Moon group could win so quickly because the people they sent perfectly countered our squads. You know, in mutant encounters, if one side's abilities are perfectly countered, their combat effectiveness drastically reduces, even turning them into invalids. Originally, we could have asked the fluorescent officials to provide intelligence on these Ronins, but those cunning folks refused to provide any information under the pretext that the Eclipsed Moon group doesn't belong to the official ranks. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been in such a passive situation. Zhu Zheng's face darkened, and he said coldly, many countries and regions are now aware of this situation, and they're watching how we handle this drama. So, this mere Ronin group, we must personally take care of them. They must be executed by our hands. To demonstrate our strength, let everyone know that Country Hua is not a place where just any cat or dog can meddle. After listening to Tu Yunlai's report, Zhu Zheng's face was filled with anger. Seeing this, Tu Yunlai volunteered, General Zhu, we can't let these fluorescent dogs run wild any longer. I request to personally lead a team and annihilate these Ronins. Zhu Jing didn't even think before he decisively refused. How can that be? You and Swallow Cloudway are Blizzard City's most important defensive forces. You absolutely cannot leave Blizzard City. Guarding our headquarters is your duty. The outer city mutant organizations are still too weak. Those without systematic training are easily manipulated by slightly stronger enemies. This time, to deal with the Eclipsed Moon organization, we still need to deploy the investigation teams. Tu Yunlia's gaze hardened, and he spoke with a heavy tone. With all due respect, this opponent is not ordinary. The Black Robe Squad probably isn't up to the task. And over at the Heavenly God Squad, Deng Shintong's character is not yet mature and stable enough. I feel it's hard to be reassured by him. Zhu Jing pondered meaningfully for a moment and thought, it seems that Tu Yunlai and Deng Shintong really don't get along. However, Tu Yunlai is really eager to advance. Zhu Zheng's gaze slightly narrowed, and he said firmly, "We can't afford to fail again. I think this time we need to send the Heavenly God Squad, but we'll also need to summon other forces." Tu Yunli's eyes brightened, and he immediately suggested, "Then let me lead 500 Swallow Cloud Guards to go." Clearly, he was desperate for an opportunity to prove himself, but Zhu Jing still firmly rejected him. "I've already said, this is not your mission. This time, I've decided to directly mobilize mutants from other cities. If the last battle was a test, this one is the real deal. This battle must be a decisive victory." With that, Zhu Jing called for his secretary, Lan Xinqing. "Tu Yunli, you can leave for now." Soon, Lan Xinqing knocked and entered the room, holding a stack of documents. Upon seeing Zhu Jing, he directly said, "Something very interesting happened in Heavenly Sea City a few days ago." Zhu Jing frowned and said somewhat sternly, "The priority is handling matters in Coastal City. Why are you still concerned with Heavenly Sea City?" However, he quickly reconsidered. Lan Xinqing wouldn't have brought up Heavenly Sea City without reason. So, he asked, "What happened in Heavenly Sea City? I remember that place is under the control of that guy Zhang Yi, right?" Lan Xinqing picked up the report in his hand and read, "According to the Intelligence Department's report, last night, a coalition of the 3 major forces of Days City entered Heavenly Sea City. They have 3 Delta-level mutants leading them, along with 72 mutants and 800 elite soldiers. They are also carrying a large amount of weapons and ammunition." Zhu Jing frowned deeply upon hearing this and cursed, "These damn fools. At a time like this, they still ignore the regulations of the region and fight amongst themselves. The Superpower Union was just established, and they clearly have no regard for the River South domain." However, after a moment of venting, he sighed and said, "Forget it. With the current strength of Heavenly Sea City, it's probably already fallen. Are you trying to tell me that?" But Lan Xinqing looked at him with a strange expression and shook his head. "You're mistaken. According to the latest intelligence, Heavenly Sea City is very quiet now." Zhu Jing was stunned. "No signs of fighting?" Lan Xinqing nodded. "In fact, the Days City coalition has completely disappeared." Zhu Jing was shocked. "What did you say? Disappeared? How is that possible?" Lan Xinqing continued, "After the Days City coalition disappeared, we tried to contact Heavenly Sea City, but we haven't received any response." Zhu Jing furrowed his brows tightly and thought carefully, muttering to himself, "Could it be that after they annexed Heavenly Sea City, they turned rebellious? They dared to ignore contact requests from River South domain. This is definitely a serious provocation to the region's authority. Have you tried contacting the local forces in Heavenly Sea City?" Lan Xinqing shook his head and replied, "No, we haven't. The forces in Heavenly Sea City were completely wiped out after the zombie crisis. It's unlikely they have the strength to annihilate Days City's mutant coalition so thoroughly. Even if there was a battle, there should at least be traces on the map." Upon hearing this, a cold face immediately appeared in Zhu Jing's mind. He decisively ordered, "Quickly call Zhang Yi. I need to have a word with him." Meanwhile, in the shelter, after wiping out the Days City allied forces, Zhang Yi had been waiting for contact from the River South domain. With such a significant event, the River South domain would definitely find out soon, and the region would have to respond in some way. Sure enough, the phone rang soon after. After Zhang Yi answered the call, his tone suddenly became extremely enthusiastic. "General Zhu, long time no see. Even though it's only been 3 days since we last met, your valiant and robust image has been deeply etched in my mind." Zhu Jing couldn't help but cover his mouth with a smile, thinking, this Zhang Yi really knows how to play the game. Then he coldly said, "All right, stop it. Stop flattering me. I don't fall for that. You should know why I'm calling. Just spit it out." Zhang Yi, who had already prepared his speech, calmly said, "The 3 major forces of Days City intended to invade the territory and resources of my Heavenly Sea City, and despite our strong protests, they directly deployed a large force. Ultimately, under the staunch resistance of all our Heavenly Sea City forces, we annihilated them within Heavenly Sea City. Our Heavenly Sea City forces acted out of a principle of defending our homeland and your basic guidelines set at the River South Superpower Union, making lawful and reasonable actions. We decisively repelled all invaders, achieving the high standards of being able to fight, knowing how to fight, and winning battles, and we strictly adhered to the Union's safety guidelines." Zhu Jing felt dizzy listening to this and quickly interrupted, Stop. Where did you learn to talk in such a roundabout way? In short, you mean to say that the mutant allied forces of Days City were really completely wiped out by you?" Zhang Yi nodded. "Correct. We also have evidence of their aggression against us, which we can send to the region immediately for everyone to judge." Zhu Jing, however, was not interested in these details but directly asked, "How did you do it?" "The mutant allied forces of Days City are not weak." Zhang Yi smiled, indicating that it was a secret of Heavenly Sea City. "After all, this is our lifeline. Given the current situation in Heavenly Sea City, necessary measures to protect ourselves are a must." Seeing this, Zhu Jing did not inquire further but reminded, "We will continue to investigate this matter." Zhang Yi was not worried about this. They had handled everything very cleanly, and it was unlikely that anything could be traced back in the short term. At this point, Zhu Jing said, "Come to Blizzard City in the next few days. There's a task you need to do." Zhang Yi was stunned, showing reluctance. "I just got back. Why do I have to go again? We've just finished a battle, and there's a lot to deal with. I really can't leave." Zhu Zheng's eyes twinkled with amusement. diamond. You just need to come alone. At this moment, Zhu Jing increasingly felt that he had underestimated Zhang Yi initially. This young man surely harbored many secrets, and this time, it was essential to bring him along. Zhang Yi, puzzled, asked, "May I ask, what exactly do I need to go there for?" Zhu Jing took a deep breath and said in a serious tone, "The first batch of mutant organizations sent to Coastal City has been wiped out." Zhang Yi was shocked. How could that be? Keep in mind, that was the top combat strength of 10 cities. Is this Eclipsed Moon Group really that strong? Zhu Jing said gravely, "This time, I want to assemble a stronger team, led by the investigation teams, and you guys will assist." Zhang Yi took a deep breath, understanding that under these circumstances, further refusal was untenable. "I'll prepare a bit and then head over." Zhang Yi was also very clear that this batch of fluorescent Ronin must be eradicated, otherwise the entire River South domain would never have peace. Afterwards, he called everyone to the living room for a meeting. Zhang Yi told everyone the truth and announced that he would take 2 people with him. First, Zhang Yi directly named Liang Yu. To this, no one was surprised, as she was the second strongest after Zhang Yi. As everyone was guessing who the second person would be, Zhang Yi picked up Flower and gently said, "Flower is naturally my second choice." Uncle Yu furrowed his brow, unable to hold back. "Zhang Yi, what about us? This matter concerns our national honor, and as a veteran, I absolutely cannot stand idly by." Even Chun Lei clenched his fists and said, "We have always carried everything together. You should take us this time too." Zhang Yi, stroking Flower, smiled and said, "I appreciate your feelings, but this is war. This isn't a game about brotherhood." The first wave of 10 mutant organizations sent out. Each one was strong. Their leaders were all Delta-level mutant leaders, yet even such a strong lineup was completely annihilated by the Ronin so cleanly. "Do you think you could do better if you went?" After hearing this, Uncle Yu looked somber and said softly, "I'm only a Gamma 3 level. Going there would almost be like throwing my life away." Zhang Yi continued, "We'll go first to understand the situation in Coastal City. If we really need help, I'll call you. For the other bases, I'll need you to help me notify them." Shokir, looking worried, said, "I always feel this mission is very dangerous. Aren't they just 13 people? Even the River South domain couldn't handle them." Yang Mi also came over, visibly anxious. "Why do we have to go to war again? I'm really worried something might happen to you." Zhang Yi reassured everyone, "This time the River South domain's investigation teams are the main force. We're just going to support. There won't be any problems." After speaking, he immediately got up to prepare for departure. As they were about to leave, Liang Yu seemed very preoccupied. Noticing her unusual behavior, Zhang Yi asked, "If there's something on your mind, you can just say it." Liang Yu looked up slightly, her voice carrying a hint of hesitation and unease. "Zhang Yi, if one day all of us no longer have any value, would you abandon us?" Zhang Yi was taken aback. Liang Yu's question suddenly made the atmosphere a bit awkward. Zhang Yi did not answer directly, but countered with a question. "Do you think I am the type of person who yearns to build a powerful force and continually expand? You might be overthinking it. From the apocalypse to now, it seems that my team has indeed been growing, but I have never thought about creating a large force to rule over the apocalypse. If I had such intentions, I would have already united all the forces in Heavenly Sea City." Liang Yu thought about it carefully, and indeed it was true. Zhang Yi continued, "In the initial stages of the apocalypse, I kept recruiting talents merely for self-preservation. At that time, banding together was the best strategy. And back then, my criteria for choosing team members were indeed very utilitarian, but so much time has passed, and I have long come to view our team as family. How could a family abandon each other? Even if some people's roles are minor, as long as we can be together, that is enough." Hearing this, Liang Yu somewhat embarrassedly lowered her head and said, "I'm sorry, I thought too much. In fact, I have also come to see everyone as family. I just hope that all of us can survive well through the apocalypse." Zhang Yi smiled and nodded, not saying much more. Soon, the two of them and a cat arrived at the subway station, and the special train arrived at Blizzard City on schedule. To Zhang Yi's surprise, this time Bailey Chongqing had come to the subway station early to meet him. When Bailey Chongqing saw Zhang Yi, he immediately gave him a warm hug. "Good brother, nice to see you again. Welcome to Blizzard City." He patted Zhang Yi on the shoulder and laughed, "But I'm really surprised that you agreed so readily to join this operation." Zhang Yi was somewhat flattered, thinking to himself, "When did I become so influential that even the leader of the investigation team would personally come to pick me up? Could it be that the secret of wiping out the Days City allied forces has been discovered?" However, he kept his composure and said, "Do you think I had a reason to refuse? When faced with a foreign invasion, I cannot just look out for myself." Bailey Chongqing nodded in approval. "You're absolutely right. The trouble this time is more serious than we thought." Hearing this, Zhang Yi's expression also turned serious, and he asked, "What exactly is going on? Is that Eclipsed Moon Group really that strong? Can't 10 mutant teams handle them?" Bailey Chongqing said gravely, "Not just you. Even General Zhu was shocked to hear this. The capabilities of this Eclipsed Moon Group are indeed peculiar. Do you know how long it took them to deal with 10 mutant teams?" Zhang Yi shook his head, staring intently at Bailey Chongqing. Bailey Chongqing said, "They took just 1 hour." Upon hearing this, Zhang Yi was utterly astonished. How is that possible? Even Bian Zhengwu in his prime couldn't have managed that. As soon as he finished speaking, Bailey Chongqing immediately covered Zhang Yi's mouth, lowering his voice, keep it down. Not many people know about this insider information yet. Come with me, let's go to a bar and talk this over properly. Zhang Yi was somewhat speechless, thinking, what time is it? And he still wants to go to a bar. Shouldn't we be meeting General Zhu first? Is this guy playing some kind of game again? Zhang Yi just arrived in Blizzard City, and Bailey Changqing was ready to take him to a bar to drink flower wine, and laughed as he told him, don't be in a hurry just yet. This time General Zhu is really angry, so we have to wait until everyone is here before discussing other situations. Zhang Yi knew in his heart, and Bailey Changqing helplessly spread his hands and said, you know, I'm just a hitman. I'm not very clear about many things. Zhang Yi understood that Bailey Changqing's strength was still significantly behind those like Bian Junwu and Deng Shintong. Although he was promoted to captain, others may not recognize his status. A few of them began walking out of the subway, and soon they arrived at the bar. Bailey Changqing ordered a whiskey, while Zhang Yi said, just 2 glasses of milk will do. Everyone was speechless, and Woody couldn't help but complain. Are you still not weaned? Zhang Yi quietly said, General Zhu could call me at any time. Do you want me to go see him reeking of alcohol? Seeing this, Lian Yu casually said, I'll have an oolong tea. After the waiter left, Bailey Changqing started talking about Coastal City. Those fluorescent people are no ordinary people, otherwise General Zhu and the others wouldn't be so cautious in deploying troops. As for the Eclipsed Moon Group, we don't have much intelligence, only that each of them is a Delta-level mutant who once roamed the fluorescent Kanto area, even the highest institution of the Kanto area. The Azuma organization couldn't do anything about them, but even so, I don't believe they could so easily wipe out 10 mutant squads. Hearing this, Zhang Yi frowned. Are you saying there's a traitor inside Blizzard City? Bailey Changqing said, it's not out of the question, but the likelihood is not high. After all, the information defense measures of the River South domain are top-notch. It's impossible for someone to transmit messages silently in these apocalyptic conditions. Zhang Yi also understood that no matter how strong the opponent, they absolutely couldn't annihilate 10 squads within an hour. At this moment, Bailey Changqing shared his suspicion. This is an era full of mutants. We don't know what kind of abilities the opponent's mutants may have. So, it's very possible that one of their mutants has abilities beyond our imagination. Zhang Yi suddenly had an epiphany. Could it be the ability to foresee the future? It's like no matter what you choose, they can predict all your actions. It's like playing rock, paper, scissors, but the opponent can always foresee your move. Bailey Changqing analyzed, this is just a guess. It's probably not that exaggerated. If they really could foresee the future, they could have reigned supreme in fluorescent. Why bother crossing the sea? Zhang Yi sighed helplessly and said, after all, it's just a lack of sufficient intelligence. Bailey Changqing countered, that's not entirely true. We've already paid a heavy price to obtain their information, and that was necessary. However, Zhang Yi didn't feel much regret, as those sacrificed were not his own people. At that moment, an idea occurred to Zhang Yi. Do you think among those 13 people, there might be someone of Epsilon level? There isn't much information about the strength of the 13 from Eclipsed Moon. Based on the video data that was sent back, while their strength is indeed formidable, it certainly does not reach the Epsilon level. Everyone had witnessed the terrifying strength of Epsilon Yuan Konya and Heavenly Sea City. If there really were such a level of existence, wiping out 10 mutant squads would make sense. Hearing this, Zhang Yi finally nodded in relief. If that's the case, there's something to look forward to. Seeing Zhang Yi's serious expression, Bailey Changqing encouraged with a smile. Actually, you don't need to worry too much. The people assembled for this operation are just support. The main force is still the investigation team. You might not even need to take action. Zhang Yi curiously looked at Bailey Changqing. Will you be going then? Bailey Changqing indicated that they had been ordered to continue recuperating. After all, several members of the Black Robe Squad were seriously injured in the last mission, but they also understood that this was just a perfunctory reason. Frankly speaking, the higher-ups believed that after the death of Bian Junwu, Bailey Changqing could no longer hold up this team. At least for the current mission, they were not up to the task. At this moment, Bailey Changqing continued, this time, it's highly likely that the Heavenly God Squad will take on this mission. If they get involved, they have yet to fail. Although there has been no agreement among the 6 major investigation teams previously, and their strengths are hard to differentiate, the Heavenly God Squad has always had the highest mission completion rate. Their team's points have long dominated the leaderboard. Wu Di couldn't help saying, it's all because they are rich. Bailey Changqing nodded. The Deng family is indeed a major force in Blizzard City. In terms of technology, Blizzard City heavily relies on the Deng family, especially in the field of biotechnology. Origin bullet, training suits, and various compounds for enhancing mutants all come from the Deng Corporation, and Deng Shintong, as the heir of the Deng family line, is naturally their fully nurtured candidate. Zhang Yi caught the unusual implication and laughed. Sounds a bit like creating gods. If things continue like this, Blizzard City might well be controlled by the Deng family, and even Deng Shintong might become Zhu Zheng's successor. This topic was highly sensitive, but Bailey Changqing did not shy away from it. General Zhu has of course considered this situation, but Blizzard City is just too dependent on the Deng family, so of course, they have to give the Deng family head some face. From the Deng family's perspective, wanting to seize more benefits during chaotic times is was not unjustified. After saying this, he raised his glass and said with a smile, "What do these matters have to do with us warriors? No matter who takes over, as long as they can let everyone live comfortably, that's enough. We just need to follow orders and drink our drinks." Meanwhile, in the executive conference room, Zhu Zheng and several senior executives were holding an emergency meeting. Of the 10 squads that were dispatched, only one person was returned. However, upon his return to Blizzard City, he quickly lost his vitality, but something was found on him. After inserting it into a computer, a figure appeared. In the video, Huan greeted everyone with a smile. "Leaders of River South Domain, hello everyone. I am the leader of the Eclipsed Moon Group, Huan. We've had some minor frictions recently, which have made everyone quite unhappy. I believe we should take a moment to cool down, and in fact, we shouldn't become enemies. If we keep this up, neither side will benefit. Our request is simple. We just need a piece of land to live on. After the apocalypse, so many people in your country have died, and you can't use up all that land anyway, so why not give some to us wanderers? We would be very grateful for your kindness, and will remember it forever." Huan's smile remained, but his tone became somewhat colder. "But if we continue to fight, I assure you that your fate will be the same as those mutants before." Faced with Huan's blatant threat, everyone in the meeting room looked visibly angry. These damn Ronin, to be so arrogant. Zhu Zheng slammed the table, unable to contain his anger. "As a military man, this threat is a great shame to me. A few Ronin dare to run wild on country Hua's territory, and even brazenly demand that we cede land for peace. They must be eradicated." Deng Shintong stood up resolutely and said, "General Zhu, give our Heavenly God Squad one day, and I will bring their heads to you." At this moment, Deng Yuanbo, the chairman of the Deng Corporation, raised his hand to signal Deng Shintong to sit down, his tone steady. "Deng Shintong, calm down for a moment. Don't be so impulsive. I think the matter is simple. Just use the death god of love to erase the entire coastal city." Deng Shintong, heeding his uncle's advice, reluctantly sat down. Zhu Zheng smiled slightly and responded, "Mr. Deng, the death god of love is not meant to be used like that. We River South Domain also have a limited number of death gods of love, and every use must be explained to other regions. Besides, to use a major weapon on our own land against a mere Ronin organization would imply to others that River South Domain is unmanned. That would make us a laughing stock to the world." Deng Yuanbo shook his head slowly and said, "They could wipe out 10 of our mutant squads within an hour. Such strength is not just a rabble. I believe even our investigation teams would find it difficult to achieve this." He was clear. This mission was too dangerous, and he did not want his nephew Deng Shintong to take such a risk. At this time, the Minister of Operations, Tu Yunlai, analyzed, "I don't think the combat strength of the Eclipsed Moon Group is stronger than our investigation teams. They don't have much combat experience, as is obvious from the videos sent back. Our Heavenly God Squad could completely overwhelm them. Moreover, this time we have also assembled some excellent out-of-town mutants to cooperate." Zhu Zheng nodded and added, "The Heavenly God Squad, in cooperation with excellent out-of-town mutants, along with the assistance of our River South Domain, will certainly be able to handle these Ronin." Seeing that Zhu Zheng's mind was made up, Deng Yuanbo merely smiled diplomatically. Although, as the head of the Deng family, he had a certain amount of influence and prestige in Blizzard City, it was clearly unwise to openly contradict Zhu Zheng. After a moment of thought, he diplomatically said, "Could we possibly call other investigation teams back to participate in this operation?" Upon hearing this, Lan Xincheng pushed up his glasses and answered, "The Demon and Reincarnation investigation teams are on very important missions. In terms of mission levels, they're probably not much lower than Coastal City." Hearing the names of other investigation teams, Deng Shintong immediately frowned. "That's not necessary. My Heavenly God Squad is enough. By the time they come back, these guys would have probably already run away." Zhu Zheng decisively said, "Time waits for no one, and it's not good if the city reconstruction suffers losses. If these guys run somewhere else, we must end this farce as soon as possible. This operation will be handled by the Heavenly God Squad." Deng Shintong gladly accepted the mission. Meanwhile, at the speakeasy, Zhang Yi was still chatting with Bailey Changqing. Suddenly, he received a message from Lan Xincheng. "Tomorrow morning at 10, go to the operations center for a strategy meeting." After seeing the message, Zhang Yi laughed ruefully. "I thought General Zhu would want to talk to me alone. It seems I was overthinking it. But this also shows that Zhu Zheng isn't too concerned about my presence. That's even better. Since Zhu Zheng isn't seeing me today, let's change my milk to alcohol. I want to drink to my heart's content with Brother Bailey." After drinking at the bar until late at night, Bailey Changqing helped Zhang Yi back to the apartment. It was unclear whether it was intentional or premeditated, but Bailey Changqing only booked one room for them. Fortunately, Liang Yu hadn't drunk much and was still clear-headed. After putting Zhang Yi on the bed, Bailey Changqing tactfully left the room, leaving Liang Yu standing by unsure of what to do. "What should I do? Should I sleep on the sofa?" But before Liang Yu could reach the sofa, Zhang Yi sat up, chuckling. "Have they all left?" Liang Yu sat down, puzzled. "So you were pretending to be drunk?" Zhang Yi smiled faintly. "How could I allow myself to get drunk? I did drink a bit at the start, but later I secretly poured the alcohol into another dimension." Saying this, he took out a bottle of milk from the space. "Heat this up for me, please." Meanwhile, Zhang Yi stroked Flower while sorting through the information he he had gathered today. This time, the region has abandoned the advantage of numbers in favor of using an elite team tactic. What then are we outsiders here for? The Eclipsed Moon organization has only 13 people. Are they expecting us to restrain them, creating an opportunity for the Heavenly God Squad to strike? Liang Yu also analyzed. I think the region wants us to ensure that those Ronin don't escape. After all, capturing them is much harder than annihilating them. Zhang Yi drank a sip of warm milk and nodded. Simply determining a winner isn't difficult, but completely eliminating them would be quite hard. After all, they wouldn't fight to the death with us. If the situation turns against them, they will definitely choose to run. So, I think I might guess why Zhu Jin called us here. They have deployed the Heavenly God Squad, but they surely don't want to see any losses in that team. Our mission, most likely, is to serve as cannon fodder. Think about it. If possible, I believe the region wouldn't mind trading our lives for those of Eclipsed Moon. However, I think it's alright for the region to do this. War is cruel like that. To ultimately succeed in capturing the king, sacrificing some pawns, even rooks, is acceptable. Saying this, I just want to remind you, whatever happens, your own safety must come first. I'm not that noble. Liang Yu, after listening, pondered for a moment, then seriously asked, even if our running away would lead to the failure of the mission, should we still do so? Zhang Yi laughed. Don't overestimate our importance. River South Domain has 1,000 ways to eliminate Eclipsed Moon. They're just weighing whether the cost is worth it. If the necessary sacrifice is too great, they might not choose to negotiate with Eclipsed Moon, and might even allow them to survive on this land. Liang Yu, greatly shocked, exclaimed, how could that be possible? If that happens, River South Domain would surely be denounced by the world. But Zhang Yi just chuckled. Since the last meeting where the mutant organizations formed the Superpower Union, it's been clear that Blizzard City can no longer govern the entire region. Remember, the trends of the world, divided for long must unite, and united for long must divide. Rather than worry about the future, it's better to rest well. There's a meeting tomorrow, after all. Saying this, Zhang Yi suddenly joked, this bed is so big, let's just squeeze in together. Hearing this, Liang Yu's face turned red all the way to her neck. Zhang Yi quickly pulled Liang Yu over and pinned her down. Liang Yu was completely taken aback, and before she could react, Zhang Yi sat up, pulled up the blanket, and covered her blushing face. Then, he walked to the sofa alone and said faintly, I'll make do tonight and sleep on the sofa. It's late, go to sleep. Liang Yu lay on the bed, still not over the shock from that moment. She had no choice but to close her eyes tightly, trying not to think about other things. The next morning, Zhang Yi turned on the TV and started watching the morning news. The awakened Liang Yu felt a hint of disappointment. Is it because I'm not charming enough? Alone in a room with a man, and he behaved so decently? In terms of looks and figure, I might not compare to Shokir and Yangmi, but I'm not bad either. At least in terms of flexibility and stamina. The realization startled Liang Yu, and she quickly shook her head, trying to dismiss these thoughts. Seeing that Liang Yu was awake, after having a simple breakfast, they went out to attend the meeting. Just at the elevator, they encountered a young couple. The young man spoke first. You two are from Heavenly Sea City, right? Zhang Yi was curious. How do you know us? The young man said teasingly, at the last Superpower Union meeting, you guys were quite famous. Not for good reasons, but I'm surprised you could still come here. Zhang Yi was a bit embarrassed. I remember you're from Four Glory City, right? I haven't asked for your names yet. Zhang Yi thought. Indeed, appearances can be deceiving. Their presence here alone indicates their extraordinary abilities. After the elevator arrived, the young man looked back and joked, looking forward to your performance. Don't mess up too soon. Hearing this, Zhang Yi was unfazed, but Flower on his shoulder bristled instantly. Zhang Yi, while soothing Flower, pondered internally, aware that although he didn't understand cat language, from Flower's reaction, these two were no good. Zhang Yi became more vigilant. Soon, they arrived at a small conference room. There were already quite a few people waiting, and with them, about a dozen in total. Everyone cautiously kept their distance from each other, and the atmosphere was tense as if frozen. At 9 in the morning, Zhu Jing entered the meeting room with the leadership. After sitting down, he tapped on the table, his expression grave. The reason you are called here today is likely known to all. A few days ago, our 10 mutant squads were completely defeated, which was a wake-up call for us. The Eclipsed Moon organization that appeared in Coastal City is extremely powerful and must not be underestimated. Each of you here represents the core strength of the region. I am very relieved to see you here, especially some comrades who did not hesitate and expressed their willingness to devote all their efforts to expelling the invaders. I am deeply moved by this. Next, I plan to form a special force with the Heavenly God Squad as the main force, specifically to handle this matter. The Black Robe Squad is currently recuperating, and Bailey Chongqing will be dispatched for tactical support. If no one has any objections, let's start with today's agenda. Zhu Jing pressed a button, and the screen started playing a video. The first batch of mutants we dispatched sent back some valuable video footage. These are the important intelligence we have collected about Eclipsed Moon so far. Everyone, please watch the video to prepare for the challenges we are about to face. After getting a rough idea of the enemy, Zhang Yi watched every segment of the battle footage intently. To his surprise, in each battle, our mutants were perfectly countered by the enemy. This situation demanded deep reflection. Zhang Yi didn't want to miss any details, but he wished he could watch the video a few more times since it had had been edited. At that moment, Lan Xinqing spoke up. I understand everyone's concerns, and I will send the video footage to all of you later. Next, I will introduce some personnel data on the Eclipsed Moon Group that headquarters collected through various channels. The Eclipsed Moon organization consists of 13 people who were ordinary professionals in various occupations before the apocalypse, not professional combat troops. After the apocalypse, the leader Huan began to gather powerful mutants, eventually forming the formidable and dangerous existence known as the Eclipsed Moon Group. They were already notorious in Kanto, known as a fearsome executioner organization. Their goal is not just to survive, but to slaughter. This is because they were the first to discover that mutants of Delta level and above could evolve by absorbing others' mutant powers. This group fled in disarray after being defeated by the Izumo organization in Kanto, but there is another theory that they were not defeated but chose to land on the territory of Country Hua voluntarily. It is said that they are faithful followers of the Landing faction. Zhang Yi asked in confusion, "What is the Landing faction?" Lan Xinqing explained, "The Landing faction is an extremist ideology that has always existed in Fluorescent. They firmly believe in the sinking of Fluorescent theory, convinced that Fluorescent will eventually perish. Hence they are extremely eager to have their own continent. And our Country Hua, in their eyes, is the ideal habitat." Zhang Yi pondered, if they wanted to land, why not choose the easier beach in Silla? After all, those are closer to them and probably have less resistance. Lan Xinqing explained, "Now is the Ice Age, and they are worried about the sea levels rising after the glaciers melt. Last time, they even sent a video asking us to provide them a habitat in the Central Plains area." As soon as he finished speaking, someone angrily slammed the table. "These shameless scoundrels, daring to covet my Central Plains. They must be completely eradicated. Let those islanders see what happens when they offend us." Next, Lan Xinqing introduced the existing data on the 13 members of Eclipsed Moon. After Zhang Yi reviewed it, he felt somewhat speechless. This information doesn't provide any effective means to defeat the enemy. At that moment, a female mutant spoke up. "From the footage, it's not hard to see that the average strength of these Ronin should be at the Delta level. They shouldn't have been able to quickly defeat 10 fully armed mutant squads. There's only one possibility here. You know what I'm suspecting." Zhu Jing stated righteously, "Regarding the first battle, I assure you, absolutely no one leaked information. This is not only a matter of trust in everyone in the command center, but also in our headquarters network defense system." Hearing this, Chen Xiaoxiao frowned. "If that's the case, doesn't it mean the enemy has mutants capable of gathering intelligence? Wouldn't that be even worse?" A mutant from Cloud State, Shuofeiyu, suggested, "We received too much information today. I think we need some time to digest this material. Can we have more time to carefully study it before moving on to the next discussion?" The other mutants raised their hands to agree with this proposal. Zhu Jing pondered for a moment and warned, "We don't have much time left. Every day we delay, those Ronin might run off to another city and continue killing. This will only make our situation more dangerous. So, I'm giving you 1 day to thoroughly study this material. Next, I'll announce the basic grouping for this operation. Given the formidable strength of the Eclipsed Moon mutants, it's too risky to operate alone, so I'm dividing you 12 into 3 groups. Your task is to support the Heavenly God Squad. The main attack mission will be handled by the Heavenly God Squad and Bailey Changqing. Also, to facilitate operations, each team will have a leader. Without a superior order, all team members must follow the leader's commands." Hearing this, Zhang Yi was somewhat surprised, thinking, to follow someone else's orders? That could be problematic. Then, Zhu Jing pulled out a list and began to read. Team 1 leader, Zhang Yi. Members, Lian Yu, Chen Xiaoxiao, Peng Li. Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li were clearly not pleased. Peng Li even turned to stare at Zhang Yi, his doubt and dissatisfaction clear. "We are all powerful figures in our own territories. Why should I listen to him?" Zhang Yi was indifferent, thinking to himself, with Flower and Lian Yu, that's enough. If they don't obey, just abandon them. Next, Zhu Jing announced that the leader of the second group would be Shuofeiyu, and the third group's leader would be Wu Shifang. After the group assignments were announced, the atmosphere in the meeting room became somewhat tense. After all, everyone hoped to be the team leader, and being a leader also represented recognition of one's abilities by the River South Domain headquarters. However, now they were expected to take orders from someone else who could be truly willing. After the groups were finalized, Zhu Jing said seriously, "The team assignments are set for now. Please no more disturbances. The choice of leaders was based on each person's abilities, and I hope everyone can cooperate well to perfectly complete this mission. Today's meeting will end here. Tomorrow afternoon at 2:30, we'll gather here again. I hope by then you have found the most advantageous way to operate. We must depart in 2 days." After finishing, the top brass of Blizzard City left the meeting room. Zhang Yi also called on Liang Yu, and they started walking out together. Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li, who had just been assigned to his team, expected Zhang Yi to come to them to discuss strategies, ready to show him their colors, but found that Zhang Yi did not bother with them and walked straight out of the meeting room. The two were somewhat at a loss. They were about to head to battle against the powerful and fierce people of Fluorescent, yet why were they so calm? Seeing this, Chen Xiaoxiao felt somewhat angry. He just became a team leader and is already putting on airs, thinking too highly of himself. Thinking this, she abruptly stood up and said to Peng Li, "Let's go find behind him. Just as Zhang Yi was about to leave, Peng Li and Chen Xiaoxiao caught up and shouted, "Please wait, Zhang Yi." Zhang Yi didn't need to look back to know it was Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li, but out of courtesy, he still turned around and asked indifferently, "What's the matter?" His attitude left Chen Xiaoxiao momentarily speechless, but she still suppressed her anger and forced a smile, saying, "You are now our team leader. I think at the very least we should know each other better. Let's sit together and study the eclipsed moon data. It's easier to discuss with more people, isn't it?" Zhang Yi raised an eyebrow, thinking, Chen Xiaoxiao's decisive demeanor does remind me somewhat of Xiao Honglian. It seems she is a straightforward and uncompromising heroine. Chen Xiaoxiao proudly introduced herself. "I'm Chen Xiaoxiao, and this is Peng Li beside me. We are from the same organization in Hegemony City." After finishing, she looked around and then whispered cautiously, "It's not really convenient to talk here. How about we find a place to chat slowly?" Zhang Yi suggested going to the speakeasy, but Chen Xiaoxiao laughed and declined. "We don't drink. Let's just go to your room. We can chat there at our leisure." This suggestion inevitably led to some misunderstandings. Even Zhang Yi couldn't help but speculate. Seeing this, Peng Li quickly clarified, "What are you thinking? We are unfamiliar with this place, and being from out of town, a room is of course the best option." Soon, they all arrived at Zhang Yi's apartment. Chen Xiaoxiao moved a chair over herself and sat down opposite Zhang Yi. She made no attempt to hide her arrogance, as if warning Zhang Yi not to try and command them. Zhang Yi, of course, didn't care and said indifferently, "If there's something to talk about, go ahead and say it." Chen Xiaoxiao spoke with a smile. "Since the region has put us together, we should follow the rules. After all, every mutant in the Eclipsed Moon group is extremely powerful, perhaps even stronger than you and me. Therefore, we must work together to ensure we survive on the battlefield and successfully complete the mission. So, we at least need to know each other's abilities, right? My ability is Iced Answer, a strength enhancement type mutant. I studied Brazilian martial arts for over a decade before the apocalypse, so I am skilled at using leg techniques in combat." She pointed to Peng Li beside her and continued, "Peng Li's ability is Priest, a release type power. Her abilities are inclined towards support and enhancement, able to significantly boost physical abilities and heal injuries. As long as it's not a fatal wound, she can generally heal it." Zhang Yi glanced at Peng Li, thinking to himself, these two are originally a team, a powerful close combat expert paired with a healer, a perfect combination. He then began introducing himself. "I am a special ability type mutant, ability code Dimensional Space. I can open a dimensional space for storage and defense, and also use Dimensional Gate for spatial travel." Hearing this, Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li's expressions immediately turned serious. An actual rare Space Series mutant. No wonder General Zhu made you the team leader. Delta-level Space Series mutants are incredibly rare nowadays. In these apocalyptic times, your ability is truly enviable. But even with your rare Space Series ability, what is your combat method? If it's just a Space Series ability, that's mostly a support role, right? Zhang Yi smiled faintly. "My offensive method is very simple. I just use a gun." "In this day and age, you still use a gun?" Peng Li couldn't help but say. Zhang Yi was somewhat speechless, thinking, these two fairies want my powerful Space Series ability, but also want to control the operation. Chen Xiaoxiao clearly has been a team leader before. I heard she was the student council president before the apocalypse. However, Zhang Yi didn't reveal all his true capabilities, only mentioning his Space Series ability and enhanced precision shooting ability. Even so, Chen Xiaoxiao's face lit up with joy. A Space Series ability resolves the issue of logistical supplies, and you're also skilled in defense. That means it's safer to be around you. It's really lucky to be in the same team as you. After hearing Chen Xiaoxiao's explanation, Peng Li had an epiphany, and her gaze towards Zhang Yi softened significantly. Zhang Yi then pointed to Liang Yu and said, "This is Liang Yu, a strength enhancement type mutant, a martial arts master. Her combat skills are extremely formidable, and once she gains the upper hand in close combat, defeating higher level opponents is no problem." At that moment, Chen Xiaoxiao's gaze fell on Flower in Zhang Yi's arms. "It can't just be an ordinary pet, right? It's minus 60 degrees out there. A normal animal would have died long ago, wouldn't it?" Zhang Yi smiled faintly. "You have good insight. This is not an ordinary cat, but a mutant creature. If classified according to human mutant levels, it would also be considered Delta level." Hearing this, Chen Xiaoxiao immediately got excited. "This is really great!" Chen Xiaoxiao exclaimed excitedly. "This way, our team has 5 Delta level mutants. This will greatly increase the success rate of our mission, and we might even take over the entire coastal city in one go." She eagerly said to Zhang Yi, "Let's quickly study the materials a few times. Brainstorming together is always better than doing it alone." At this moment, Zhang Yi smiled meaningfully. "However, shouldn't we first talk about teamwork? Since General Zhu has appointed me as the team leader, I hope you two will follow my orders." Upon hearing this, Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li were momentarily stunned. Chen Xiaoxiao had thought she had been controlling the pace of the conversation, naturally becoming the spokesperson of the team. But Zhang Yi clearly wasn't playing along. Chen Xiaoxiao spoke up. "Your abilities are indeed very rare and powerful, and we respect your position as the team leader. But if you make inappropriate decisions during the mission, we reserve the right to correct them." Upon hearing this, Zhang Yi spread his hands and said indifferently, "Then we must agree to disagree." Peng Li. Since you are not willing to fully follow my orders, there's no need to act together. After all, we already have a well-coordinated team. Myself, Liang Yu, and Flower, we're just one person short of the usual number, so we don't really need you. Peng Li was somewhat surprised by his response. Are you serious? She knew that facing the formidable Eclipsed Moon group with just Zhang Yi, Liang Yu, and a mutant cat was almost like sending them to their doom. She quickly said, the previous 10 teams were all annihilated. Now we must stick together to have a chance of success. Originally, we 5 Delta-level mutants should have the best chance of completing the mission. Splitting up like this isn't good for anyone, Peng Li said anxiously. Zhang Yi maintained an indifferent posture and responded lightly. That's your choice. Being together would only hold each other back. Since you don't acknowledge me, tell me, what's the point of sticking together? Chen Xiaoxiao said calmly. I think since we've just met, we need some time to adjust. But surely having more people improves the chances of survival. Zhang Yi chuckled internally. These two fairies are quite something. Do you know who you're negotiating with? Today's Zhang Yi is among the top experts in the entire River South domain, especially with his life-saving skills. He's nearly invincible. He said impatiently, my ability to save myself guarantees that I and my people survive 100%. However, if you don't follow my commands, I am under no obligation to protect you. Hearing this, Chen Xiaoxiao fell into thought, then had an epiphany, so confident to say 100%. I get it. She turned to Peng Li. His space ability allows for dimensional travel. That means, if things go south, he can just slip away instantly, making him virtually invincible. Peng Li's expression became complicated. That's really playing it safe. After thinking it over, Chen Xiaoxiao made a decision. For the upcoming mission, we can follow your commands, but if your orders are too outrageous, we reserve the right to part ways. How about that? Zhang Yi stroked his chin, thinking Chen Xiaoxiao looks smart enough, and Peng Li's priest ability is indeed very useful. Having them along wouldn't hurt. With this thought, Zhang Yi nodded and said, agreed. After confirming Zhang Yi's position as team leader, they started the video and began studying in detail. Having already watched it once, they could quickly skip the irrelevant parts. Meanwhile, Peng Li noted down all the key points on the side. A few hours later, Zhang Yi, as the team leader, began sharing his thoughts on the Eclipsed Moon group. First, as your leader, let me share my view of the Eclipsed Moon group. The current video data is still too limited. We haven't even fully figured out the specific lineup of the opponents, but one crucial point is that they must possess extremely strong intelligence capabilities. Also, there are a few individuals whose combat abilities we need to be particularly wary of. Zhang Yi pointed to Daiko, and in the video, this guy's strength is at least at the level of a deputy captain of the investigation team. In the video, he indeed broke through 2 mutant squads by himself. Based on my judgment, his strength might be on par with Bailey Changqing, 50-50. Then, Zhang Yi pointed to the long-haired samurai, Kamamoto Nobunaga. This person is a master of fluorescent swordsmanship, reputedly called the contemporary sword saint in fluorescent. Hearing this, Liang Yu said seriously, if I get a chance, I'd like to spar with this guy. Peng Li, somewhat skeptical, thought to herself, Liang Yu is just Zhang Yi's subordinate, and yet she dares to talk big like this? You know, Kamamoto is capable of annihilating a mutant organization with a single slash, and even captured Lai Tianluan alive. Then, Zhang Yi pointed to 3 other individuals and continued analyzing. These 3 didn't make a move last time, but we must be careful and cautious, especially the leader Huan. To have so many powerful fluorescent mutants submit to him, he definitely possesses formidable strength. Unfortunately, the first battle didn't test his true capabilities. What Zhang Yi least wanted to face was an unknown opponent. Peng Li saw his concern and comforted him. Leave enemies of this level to the Heavenly God Squad. After all, they are the main force in this operation. Suddenly, Chen Xiaoxiao said thoughtfully, I think I've guessed the headquarters battle plan now. Zhang Yi spread his hands. Let's hear it. Chen Xiaoxiao analyzed. Because Eclipsed Moon didn't show their full strength in the first battle. That's why we need to operate in 2 echelons this time. Our 3 out-of-town teams' task is to force Eclipsed Moon to act. The Heavenly God Squad following us will adjust their formation based on how we engage. Since there are phenomena of abilities countering each other among mutants, once Eclipsed Moon reveals their power, the Heavenly God Squad can match the best countermeasures according to the enemy's ability attributes. This time's team members are all of top-tier strength from River South domain, and with our numerical advantage, they won't be able to break through our plan. It looks like we have the upper hand in this battle. Zhang Yi nodded and said lightly, if that's the case, then it's simple. After all, Zhang Yi was best at playing the bait, advancing when the enemy advances, retreating when the enemy retreats. Stalling for time was his forte. At that moment, Peng Li, who had been taking notes, suddenly spoke up. Is that all you're asking for? Just establishing merit in this mission could even give us a chance to take over the entire coastal city. Coastal City is very resource-rich. Capturing it could significantly boost a faction's strength. However, Zhang Yi wasn't interested in these. His thinking was simple. Fight if possible, run if not. He wasn't very interested in other matters. He said to Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li, if you don't agree with my approach, you can leave now. The two were momentarily at a loss for words, thinking to themselves, Zhang Yi is really uncompromising. Meanwhile, in Zhu Zheng's office, a message arrived from the operations center. It clearly clearly stated, the Eclipsed Moon Group has already started leaving Heavenly Sea City and is heading towards Jiangning City in the northwest. Zhu Jing clenched his fists, his face turning grim. It seems these guys are really intending to march into the Central Plains. The audacity of the Eclipsed Moon Group was completely beyond his expectations. A deep intent to kill emanated from Zhu Jing's eyes as he muttered through clenched teeth. Damn lunatics. Do they really think that winning a preliminary battle allows them to disregard my River South domain? This time, I will tear you to pieces.